Hey everyone, welcome back! Today, we're diving into Paddington in Peru, the third installment in the Paddington series. Now, the first two films are pretty much modern classics. Paddington was a delightful surprise, and Paddington to somehow manage to be even better, filled with heart, humor, and a near-perfect story. So naturally, expectations for this one were sky high. The big question is, does Paddington in Peru live up to the legacy? Let's start with the good. First and foremost, Paddington himself is just as charming as ever. Ben Whishaw continues to bring so much warmth and sincerity to the role, making Paddington feel like a real, lovable character rather than just an animated bear. The animation and effects are seamless. Once again, Paddington fits into the real world so naturally, which is something this franchise has always done incredibly well. The story takes a bit of a turn from the previous films. Instead of being another London-based adventure where Paddington wins over the city, this time he's returning to his roots in Peru to visit Aunt Lucy, who now lives in a retirement home for bears. Of course, things don't go as planned, and what starts as a heartwarming trip turns into a full-fledged adventure involving mysteries, hidden treasures, and new characters. This shift in tone gives the film a fresh energy, leaning more into an Indiana Jones-style adventure rather than a cozy British family comedy. The supporting cast is also fantastic. Hugh Bonneville returns as Mr. Brown, and while Sally Hawkins isn't back as Mrs. Brown, Emily Mortimer steps in and does a solid job. Then there's Olivia Colman, who's hilarious as always, and Antonio Banderas, who adds some flair to the story. Now, let's talk about what didn't work as well. The biggest challenge Paddington in Peru faces is following up Paddington 2, which was practically a masterpiece. That film had such a tight, emotionally satisfying story, with Paddington's kindness being tested in the most extreme way. Paddington in Peru doesn't quite hit the same emotional depth. Another small issue is that, while Dougal Wilson does a great job directing, especially considering this is his feature debut, there's a little something missing without Paul King at the helm. King brought such a specific charm, wit, and visual style to the first two movies, and while Paddington in Peru still looks great. So where does that leave us? Paddington in Peru is definitely the weakest of the trilogy, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie, far from it. It's still a sweet, funny, and beautifully made film with plenty of heart. It just doesn't quite reach the heights of its predecessors. If you're a fan of Paddington, you'll absolutely have a good time. It's a solid family film, full of warmth and adventure. But if you're going in expecting another Paddington 2-level masterpiece, you might leave feeling just a little bit underwhelmed.